Good morning and welcome to the New Hanover County Schools The Morning Show. I'm Shannon Maines.
And I'm Ryan Spurney. This is the week of May 25th through May 31st.
This week we highlight one of the most famous writers to ever live, Shakespeare.
Together we will learn about this master of the written word through segments, trivia, and a fun game.
In addition, we have food facts. Today our experts from the Child Nutrition Department gives us a detailed explanation of the nutrition label.
And we have a new episode of Green Revolution. This week we learned how a smart grid will connect renewable energy resources to our existing power grid and help us share that power more efficiently.
It's going to be a great show. But for now, let's check in with our news anchor who is standing by with our first look at your school news headlines. Good morning.
Good morning, Shannon and Ryan, and welcome everyone to your school news here on The Morning Show. Topping the headlines this week. Superintendent and Board of Education honor students at Choice Art Awards. Laney High School hosted its 6th annual Slam Jam, and school systems released this year's high school graduation schedule. I will have all those stories and more coming up later in the show.
We get things started today with a staple here on The Morning Show with a segment we call This Week in History. Our Grand Master of Historical Knowledge has all the headlines from past times and This Week in History, brought to you by Kidsville News.
Welcome to This Week in History. I'm your historical host, Jacob Triebstra, covering all the colorful and amazing events that have left their mark on history's timeline. This is the week of May 25th through May 31st. May 25th, 1977. A new sign of political liberalization appears in China when the communist government lifts its decade-old ban on the writings of William Shakespeare. The action by the Chinese government was additional evidence that the Cultural Revolution was over. May 26, 2005. A U.S. Marine general drops murder charges against Second Lieutenant Ilaro Pantano, a Wall Street trader and former Marine who had rejoined the service after the attacks of September 11th. Pantano had been accused of the premeditated murder of 2 suspected Iraqi insurgents, a crime punishable by death. May 27, 1937. The Golden Gate Bridge, connecting San Francisco with Marin County, officially opens amid citywide celebration. It was named for the narrow strait that marks the entrance to the San Francisco Bay. At the time, it was the longest suspension bridge in the world. May 28, 1957. Baseball owners voted unanimously to allow the New York Giants and Brooklyn Dodgers to move to San Francisco and Los Angeles respectively. West Coast baseball fans were overjoyed and the people of New York City were heartbroken. May 29, 2005. 23-year-old Danica Patrick becomes the first female driver to take the lead in the storied Indianapolis 500. Patrick finished in 4th place and her stellar performance earned her Rookie of the Year honors and a place in the history books. Finally, your weekend history tidbits. May 30th, 1971. The U.S. unmanned space probe Mariner 9 is launched on a mission to gather scientific information on Mars. The spacecraft would circle Mars twice each day for almost a year, photographing the surface and analyzing the atmosphere. May 31st, 1930. Best known to many of his fans for one of his most memorable screen incarnations, San Francisco Police Inspector Dirty Harry Callahan, the actor and Oscar-winning filmmaker Clint Eastwood is born on this day in 1930 in San Francisco, California. That's This Week in History, your ultimate source for those key moments in time. I'm Jacob Triebstra. Thanks for stopping by.
This Week in History is brought to you by Kidsville News, a fun and effective learning resource for children, teachers, and parents. It features school news, information, and local community events while promoting literacy and the development of good reading habits, character traits, and study skills in young children. And Kidsville News is always free. Copies are delivered every month to every elementary school in the New Hanover County school system.
And join us again next time for another journey through time as we explore the fun, fascinating, entertaining, and educational facts that make up This Week in History.
Now don't go away, we'll be right back.
This is Lands and People, your passport to the world.
The Republic of Angola is found on the western coast of southern Africa. The country's chief agricultural products are bananas, coffee, and sugarcane. While its major products are diamonds, iron ore, and phosphates, most of the population belong to various Bantu groups. Angola's capital is Luanda, and primary language is Portuguese.
This has been Lands and People, your passport to the world.
Welcome back to the morning show. I'm Shannon Maines.
And I'm Ryan Spurney.
Today, our show is all about the famous poet known as Shakespeare.
We have an abridged version of a show we air here on the Learning Network titled Why Shakespeare?
In it, we learn a little more about the writer who helped shape our time. We also hear from popular actors of the importance of Shakespeare in their lives.
Here's Why Shakespeare.
All the world's a stage, but all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts.
When I open the gift of Shakespeare, I find life. I find life in all its complexity and contradiction, in all of its beauty and dismal banality.
What would be different in my life without Shakespeare? I was really shy. I was so shy. And I guess it's made me more confident about myself.
I have witnessed firsthand, over and over again, the power of theater and the performing arts to shape lives, not just that, but to actually turn them around.
My favorite play is the one that I'm working on at any given moment. Every time I work on a Shakespeare play, I find myself anew.
The world would be different without live theater in the sense that actors wouldn't have anywhere to act. And audience wouldn't have somewhere to cry, somewhere to laugh, somewhere to smile, somewhere to say, I felt that before.
When I work on a Shakespeare play, it connects me. It connects me to my community.
I think once I got involved in the theatre, something, just a light went on in my head. And when I returned to school and talked about this in past and whatever, there was always, it's an exponential growth rate for me personally. I don't know, it may not be for everybody, but I improved at everything once academically, grades went through the roof, sports-wise, every facet of my life was improved by this thing that I then had.
Shakespeare was pivotal in my life in that as a kid, I was told, you'll never be a writer. I was told by teachers this, you'll never be a writer. And you tend to sometimes believe what teachers tell you, which could be a mistake. And I remember going to theater and reading Shakespeare and thinking to myself, this is really something that's interesting, that's engaging, and I think I'd like to try this.
I think the amazing thing about Shakespeare is that his language was so fertile.
He makes you appreciate language in a way that you never appreciated it before.
Shakespeare is the one who makes the language. That's what our language comes from too, the American language.
Well, Shakespeare to me is a little weird. I mean, here's a guy who lived in the 1600s, 400 years ago, and he's writing English that we can barely understand. It's a little weird.
When I would read Shakespeare in school, I would be like, these people are weird. I wouldn't understand really what they were talking about.
Some people won't admit it. They say, oh, it's Shakespeare.
But now that I really understand it, I guess I think about the women that are there and the men. And
Shakespeare, his words.
Shakespeare wrote in iambic pentameter. People get all, freaked out about iambic pentameter. Oh, I don't really understand it. It's so confusing. What's iambic pentameter? Dee-dum, 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 dee-dum. Shakespeare's telling you or sharing or reflecting the heartbeat of his characters and asking your heart to sync up with theirs. That's all that iambic pentameter is.
Working with Shakespeare has changed my life in many, many ways. I think one of the most surprising ways is that it has given me a vehicle to learn as well as teach.
What we fail to realize about Shakespeare is that Shakespeare was not merely the greatest playwright and poet of his day in England. He was also the most important figure in entertainment. You know, he was a George Lucas or Steven Spielberg.
He has an ability to go deep into the human experience and entertain you while he's doing it.
Well, Shakespeare's is important because it's something that binds our heritage as an American. It's something that I think you can go up to anybody and say, you know, have you read Shakespeare or have you heard of this guy?
Can I ask you a question?
You may.
What's Shakespeare?
What is Shakespeare? Poetry.
You are right, sir.
I feel that the artist Shakespeare, whoever he was so in tune with the dimensionality of what it is to be male and female. Isn't that amazing?
I think the value of theater, true theater, is that through performances, children can experience the multiplicity of life. They can live the life of a king, they could live the life of a queen, they can become a great hero. They can get out of their own life.
It uses a different part of your brain, and it allows you to get out of your, whether it's a puny little life or a life that's poor or a life that's too rich and you haven't experienced what it's like to go to the other side. It's about liberation.
I would have to say to anybody, even if anybody mentions the word Shakespeare, just to go for it. It might sound dorky at first, and you're like, no, but just do it. Don't listen to what others will say, because it will only hold you back from doing things that you really want to do.
I thank you, Bill Shakespeare, wherever you are.
If you would like to see one of Shakespeare's plays in person, then you are in luck. Shakespeare on the Green begins at the end of May and runs through most of June.
This annual event takes place at the Greenfield Lake Amphitheater and features 2 Shakespeare plays. Both plays are fun events for the whole family and make for a pleasant evening.
This year, the youth company will perform Shadows of Shakespeare, which is a collection of Shakespeare's characters in a classic tale of power and madness performed in full shadow.
The adult show this year will be Measure for Measure, a dark comedy which shows when those in power allow their human impulses to go unchecked.
You can find out more about these plays online by Googling Shakespeare on the Green.
All right, it's time now to send it over to the news desk for more Your School News and our news anchor, Airlie Ward, who is standing by. Good morning.
Good morning, and welcome to Your School News on the Morning Show. I'm Airlie Ward. Dr. Tim Markley and the New Hanover County Board of Education honored art students last week at the annual Choice Art Breakfast. Over 30 pieces of art were submitted this year for the annual competition. With a complete report on this year's event and winners is YSN reporter Brianna Baker.
Every spring, New Hanover County's Superintendent and Board of Education recognize outstanding achievement in the visual arts with the selection of submitted pieces to the annual competition. The winners and their parents were honored at a special breakfast with the superintendent and members of the board. During the breakfast, the students chatted with Dr. Markley, board members, and other guests in attendance. The art students shared details and strategies they used to create their artwork and talked about what inspired them.
Well, my brother is going to college for tech and design, and my sister-in-law is actually going to college for game design. And growing up with those two, they've been involved with computers and drawing, so might as well combine the two.
Both the superintendent and the board selected artwork from grades K through 12. Artwork selected by the board will be displayed for 1 year at the Board of Education Center, while artwork selected by the superintendent will be on display for 1 year at the School Systems Administration Building. Recipients of the 2015 Superintendent Choice Art Awards were Olivia Didmar from Carolina Beach Elementary School, Ansley Tisdale from Ogden Elementary, Kesley Bennett from Trask Middle School, and Avery Blake from Hoggard High School. Recipients of the 2015 New Hanover County Board of Education Choice Art Awards contest were Madison Arthur from Ashley, Madison Dameron from Coddington, Addison Estep from Hoggard, Elena Griffin from Roland Grice, Amy Lee from New Hanover, Amy Mauney from Murray, and Lane Thompson from Ashley. The wide range of artworks selected this year had magical characteristics. Each artist, no matter what their age, seemed to have a vision and creativity that they were truly unique. Both the superintendent and members of the Board of Education. Reporting for your school news, this is Brianna Backer.
Ogden Elementary School's Battle of the Books team was named the 2015 New Hanover County Schools Elementary Battle of the Books champions. The competition was held at the Northeast branch of the New Hanover County Public Library on May 5, 2015. 4th and 5th grade students from the 24 New Hanover County Schools elementary schools read 18 books in preparation for the EBOB, where they were required to answer questions about each title in front of their fellow students, parents, and teachers. After the Ogden, Holly Tree, and Wrightsville Beach teams made it to the championship round, Ogden's team, led by teachers Kathy Dolan and Helen Bell, came out on top to win the competition. Congratulations to several New Hanover County schools that recently participated in the Future Business Leaders of America State Leadership Conference. FBLA is the premier organization for students preparing for careers in business and the largest student business organization in the world. With a complete list of winners from this year's event is YSN reporter Heather Jensen.
Future Business Leaders of America is the premier organization for students preparing for careers in business and the largest student business organization in the world with 250,000 members. The following students placed at the FBLA Student Leadership Conference. In digital literacy were students Tommy Cox, Sean Gisdick, Mercy Peeve, and Logan Seagraves. In personal finance was Jake Barlow, placed among the top 10 in the state. Placing in the top 10 in North Carolina in the social media was Lance Autry and Jake Barlow. Myrtle Grove Middle School has several third-place winners. In business communication was Jake Barlow. In the business computer technology field was Kaplan Actis. In business concepts was Joey Picard. And in keyboarding application 2 was Bobby Langtree. In the spreadsheet event, students Mercy Peavy and Brianna Durante tied for second place, while the team of Scott Hightower, Thomas Bourget, and Mattia Patterson took first place in desktop publishing. In impromptu speaking was Sean Gisdeck and Logan Seagraves, both placed in the top 10 in North Carolina, as did Lance Autry and Business Concepts. Placed in the entrepreneur level event was Jake Barlow, Brianna Durante, Bobby Langtree, Gabe Moore, and Mercy Peavy. While Jake Barlow placed in the business level event, which is the second highest level of the program. From Trask Middle School, Maria Mattingly and Jonathan Marion placed in the top 10 in business communications and social media, while Zachary Bonds took first place in impromptu speaking. From Wilmington Early College High School was David Sears, Grant Bonds, Grant Richards, and Madeline Newton placed top 10 in personal finance, public service announcements, and principles and procedures, while Grant Bonds and Race Winster placed in the top 5 in marketing. While Romello Weekly took fourth place in Accounting 1, and the team of Ayla Adamek, Deepak Nalwani, and Aiden Salgaro took first place in computer gaming and simulation programming. FBLA prepares students for real-world professional experiences. Members gain the competitive edge for college and career success. Overall, it's a very successful trip for area schools and students to look forward to future medals and awards. Reporting for your school news, this is Heather Jensen.
For all of the latest on New Hanover County Schools, join us weekdays at 5:30 p.m. here on Time Warner Cable Channel 5 and Charter Cable Channel 191 for Your School News, a complete half hour of all the latest news and information from New Hanover County Schools. Now back to our hosts.
Thanks. It's now time for a tasty segment, Food Facts. In this segment, specialists from the New Hanover County Child Nutrition Office join us with important information for living healthy and happy lives. This week, Samantha LeClaire explains the nutrition label to us.
You probably already used the nutrition facts label in some way, maybe to check calories, fat, or sodium content. But the more familiar you are with the information, the more you'll want to use it daily to ensure you're eating a healthy, balanced diet. Use the nutrition label when you shop, as you plan your meals, and as you cook each day. These labels make it easy to determine the amounts of nutrients you're getting, and you can use them to prepare products. Choosing foods that are low in saturated fats, trans fats, cholesterol, salt, and added sugar will help you maintain a healthy diet. Check the serving size and number of servings. The nutrition facts label information is based on one serving, but many packages contain more. Look at the serving size and how many servings you are actually consuming. If you double the servings you eat, you need to double the calories and nutrients, including the daily percent. You be sure when you compare calories and nutrients between brands to check and see if the serving size is the same. Calorie count is very important to pay attention to the amount. This is where you will find the number of calories per serving and calories from fat in each serving. Fat-free doesn't mean calorie-free. Lower fat items may have as many calories as full-fat versions. If the label lists that one serving equals 3 cookies and 100 calories and you eat 6 cookies, you've eaten 2 servings or twice the number of calories and fat. Use the label not only to limit fat and sodium, but also to increase nutrients that promote good health and may protect you from disease. Look for foods that are rich in these nutrients. Some Americans don't get enough vitamins A and C, potassium, calcium, and iron, so choose the brand with the higher amounts of these nutrients. In addition, get the most nutrients from your calories. Compare the calories to the nutrients you would be getting to make a healthier food choice. To help reduce your risk of heart disease, use the label to select foods that are lowest in saturated fat, trans fat, and cholesterol. Trans fat doesn't have a percent daily value, but consume as little as possible because it increases your risk of heart disease. To help lower blood cholesterol, replace saturated fat and trans fat with monosaturated fat and polyunsaturated fats. Limit sodium to help reduce your risk of high blood pressure. Reach for healthy, wholesome carbohydrates. Fiber and sugars are types of carbohydrates. Healthy sources like fruits, vegetables, beans, and whole grains can reduce the risk of heart disease and improve digestive functioning. Whole grain foods can't always be identified by color or name. Look for the whole grain listed first in the ingredient list. There isn't a percent daily value for sugar, but you can compare the sugar content in grams among products. Most Americans get plenty of protein, but not always from the healthiest sources. When choosing a food for its protein content, make choices that are lean, low-fat, or fat-free. The percent daily value is a key to a balanced diet. It is a general guide to help you link nutrients in a serving of food to their contribution to your total daily diet. It can help you determine if a food is high or low in a nutrient. 5% or less is low, 20% or more is high. You can use it to make dietary trade-offs with other foods throughout the day. I hope this review of the nutrition label was helpful. Spending a little time learning about what it is in foods you eat and finding the healthiest options for you will pay dividends in the years to come. For the Child Nutrition Office, I am Samantha LeClaire. Back to you.
Thank you, Samantha. That was a lot of great information about nutrition labels and all the information they contain.
Now don't go away. This rip-roaring edition of The Morning Show will continue right after this break. But before we go, we have our trivia question of the day.
Our question focuses on that English playwright, poet, actor, dramatist of queens and kings, inventor of words, master of drama, and arguably the most famous writer of all time, William Shakespeare.
Many of his works are famous and are known throughout the world. The amount of works he completed is astounding, which leads us to our trivia question.
Our trivia question today asks, if you totaled Shakespeare's surviving works, how many words do they add up to? A, a little over 565,000, B, a little over 880,000, C, a little over 1,115,000, or D, a little over 1,423,000.
We'll have the answer when we return.
I know, 2 seconds. Hang on, just stand still. Stand still, love. 1 second. I know. Just I know. Okay, go, go, go. No. Boys, hang on, boys.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Welcome back to the morning show. I'm Shannon Maines and my co-host is Ryan Spurney.
Before the break, we asked our trivia question of the day.
It asked, if you totaled Shakespeare's surviving works, how many words do they add up to? A little over 565,000, B, a little over 880,000, C, a little over 1,115,000, or D, a little over 1,423,000. And the correct answer is B, a little over 880,000, or 884,000, for 64.7 words to be exact. Those words total 118,406 lines.
In his time, Shakespeare wrote 36 plays and 154 sonnets. His longest play was Hamlet at 4,042 lines, and his shortest was The Comedy of Errors with 1,787 lines.
According to the Oxford English Dictionary, Shakespeare coined more than 500 new words, many of which are still commonly used in English speak.
Popular Will-isms include amazement, bump, lonely, countless, useful, radiance, and lackluster.
His plays have been translated into more than 80 other languages and performed in dozens of countries where diverse audiences are all still recognize the timeless element of the human experience as depicted by the young Englishman 400 years ago.
Shifting gears now, we feature an edition of the award-winning Green Revolution. This series takes a look at the new ways science and technology can provide the necessary foundation for our future in a world powered by clean energy. In today's episode, we explore how a smart grid will connect renewable energy resources to our existing power grid and help us share that power more efficiently. By developing control systems that regulate electricity flow, a research group is making our power grid smarter.
When people talk about green energy, they're usually talking about how we can turn things like this, or this, into this. But that's only part of the story. Now that we've got electricity, how do we get it from here to here? This isn't a new problem. When everyone wanted electricity in their homes, electric companies had to figure out how to get the power from the plant to their customers. So they built big grids of power lines.
Well, the technologies and methods that we use in the distribution system basically have been around since the days of Edison and Tesla. That's over 100 years.
Really? We have new ways to generate electricity, but we're still using the same 100-year-old technology to get it where it needs to go?
Maybe we need to update that.
Hillary Brown at the Colorado School of Mines is working on doing just that. She's on a team that studies electric power systems, and they've come up with some really cool ways to keep the power flowing. But because our current system is already so established, we can't just start from scratch. So how do we improve it without replacing everything?
So we have to look at what changes we can make. Okay, so what we do is we create a computer model that expresses the systems, which would be, say, your house or a business, and to the generation sources, which are renewable, so a photovoltaic panel or a wind generator. Okay. And then you have different power lines that connect them. Then you try and minimize the cost that you're putting into the system while maximizing the benefit you're getting out.
So, an update. That should work. Take what we've already got and make it better. But what are some of the changes we could make?
One of the reasons we would want to switch to a smart distribution system is because we want to be able to use what's called distributed generation. So instead of having a huge coal plant way over here in your city over here, you're going to have lots of tiny little generators at the different locations in your city, so in an office building or at your house, for example.
But adding renewable resources and updating power lines isn't going to solve all our problems. A lot of the time, renewables are far away or unpredictable. That's where the smart grid comes in.
So, Sid, a lot of people have been talking about the smart grid lately. Why is it such a big deal, and how is it going to make our lives different?
Well, the issue with renewable energy, largely solar and wind, is the variability in the input.
Okay.
So we need new devices, new technologies, new methodologies to achieve that, and that is the smart grid.
Okay, so your lab is working on ways to make sure that we have a reliable, constant stream of electricity, even though the ways that we're getting the electricity might not always be constant.
That's right.
Ted Song at UT Austin is an engineer working on a new piece of technology that regulates the power that comes from different sources, so we can use it in our homes.
Okay, so when you are trying to connect different sources of energy into one system, we have control issues. We have to solve a lot of equations, and we have to do computer simulations. And also, after computer simulations, we make designs for converters.
So you actually had to build this entire converter.
Yes.
Look at all these cool
right,
things.
You know, so it's like, yes, Lego, like having fun with different components.
What's that? But it must be fun to be able to build it however you want.
Right.
Kids, you need math.
Smart grid won't just help us use renewable energy, it will also help us control the flow of energy to and from our lives. Think about it like a highway. Only right now, things only move in one direction. All the energy is going from the power company to your house. But what if we added another lane in the other direction and built some on-ramps? Suddenly, things are moving back and forth, and the whole system can work more efficiently. That seems smart.
Now, if you'd like to watch this video again or learn more about discovering energy, you can visit the website www.nsf.gov/greenrevolution.
All right, it's time now for this week's lunch menu. This is the menu for Monday, May 25th through Monday, June 1st.
On Monday, May 25th, enjoy your holiday off as we celebrate Memorial Day.
Then, on Tuesday, May 26th, make lunch momentous with spaghetti and meatballs with a breadstick, chicken cheesesteak, or a mouth-watering cheeseburger. On the side are lima beans, a garden salad, and fresh fruit.
On Wednesday, May 27th, battle your midday hunger and chow down on barbecue chicken with a biscuit, cheesy breadstick, or popcorn chicken with a roll. For your sides, the cafeteria will be serving pasta salad, NC sweet potatoes, a garden salad, and diced peaches.
On Thursday, May 28th, sit down for a wonderful meal of a turkey club sandwich, egg rolls with fried rice, or a pepperoni pizza hoagie. Side items include oriental vegetables, a garden salad, and fresh fruit.
Then on Friday, May 29th, you won't want to miss out on the lunch as your cafeteria will be serving fish nuggets, macaroni and cheese, or nachos grande. While you're in the lunch line, don't forget a roll or cornbread muffin, tomato and cucumber salad, a garden salad, and applesauce.
Finally, on Monday, June 1st, satisfy your need to feed with delicious corn puppies. Accompany your entree with sweet potato waffle fries, a garden salad, and add spiced apples for dessert.
And there you have the lunch menu for the week.
Don't forget, you can also start your day off with a healthy and hearty breakfast at school.
In our next segment, Jamie Stafford takes a look at a unique top 10 list that is informative and entertaining. From animals to food to entertainment and education, each episode will count down 10 items that are tops in their list.
This week we have the top 10 Shakespeare quotes. Follow along and see if you agree or disagree with the list.
Welcome to this week's exciting edition of The List. I'm Jamie Stafford. Have you ever wondered where some of your favorite phrases come from? We have some funny expressions in our everyday language, but none quite as common as this week's top 10. But here's the kicker. All of the phrases were created by Shakespeare. That's right. This week we're counting down the top 10 popular phrases from Shakespeare. Starting the list off right is the phrase, all of a sudden. The phrase was first introduced in Shakespeare's play, The Taming of the Shrew, when a man sees his master suddenly fall in love with a young woman. A sudden, at the time, was a term used to illustrate an unexpected event. Something could happen at the sudden, in the sudden, or even on the sudden. But it was this famous playwright who first introduced the widely used term, all of a sudden. Coming in next at number 9 is the phrase, night owl. Night owl used to be a fancy term for an owl, until Shakespeare took it a step further and used it in his poem, The Rape of Lucrece. This was the first time that night owl was used to describe a person instead of an actual owl, and we use it today to describe people who like to stay awake. Shakespeare must have a thing for calling people animal names, huh? Taking the number 8 spot this week is the phrase, like the Dickens. Contrary to popular belief, this statement did not stem from 19th century writer Charles Dickens. The phrase has puzzled people for ages, as it is used in conjunction with something unwanted or hated. And what do we have against Charles Dickens? You can thank Shakespeare for this phrase. It was introduced in his play, The Merry Wives of Windsor, and translates to like the devil, as the Dickens meant the devil in Shakespeare's time. At number 7 this week is the phrase, off with his head. This popular phrase from Alice in Wonderland did not begin its journey there. It stemmed from the historical play, Henry V, Part 3. As Queen Margaret mocks her enemy on the battlefield. The Duke of York wants to steal the crown from Margaret and Henry, the current rulers of England, but is defeated on the battlefield, and the Queen says, well, you know. Coming in at number 6 is, there's a method to my madness. This phrase is used often today to describe why we put our milk in before our cereal or do other strange things, but was first introduced in the famous play, Hamlet. Hamlet says this as he is wandering around the castle, sputtering what sounds like nonsense to most, but he's actually making perfect sense. Now I get it. We're halfway there. This week's number 5 spot goes to Wild Goose Chase. This phrase actually came from Romeo and Juliet, and the phrase goose chase was used to describe a horse race at the time. This was because when one horse would take the lead, all the other horses would make the shape of a V, much like wild geese do. Mercutio uses this phrase to declare Romeo the winner of their battle of wits, saying that Romeo's jokes are 5 times that of Mercutio's. In the number 4 spot is too much of a good thing. This phrase originated from the play As You Like It, as a young man is trying to practice proposing to his love with his best friend, who is actually his love in disguise. He assures the main character that his love interest would say yes, as you can never have too much of a good thing. Coming in at number 3 is the phrase hot-blooded. Hot-blooded was first used in The Merry Wives of Windsor to describe an angry person, or in this case, a god. And now we use this term every time we sing a little foreigner. But hey, at least you'll get a little satisfaction knowing that you're quoting the bard. And taking the number 2 spot this week is Love is Blind. Shakespeare uses this in several plays, including Merchant of Venice, Two Gentlemen of Verona, and Henry V. He uses it to say that lovers are too blinded by their feelings to see the faults in their partner's character. Every time he mentions this phrase, it's never a good thing. But we use it in a more positive connotation today, to say that even though someone has flaws, love sees past them. And drum roll please, your top widely used Shakespearean phrase is knock knock, who's there? During Macbeth, a doorman starts telling people jokes about people knocking on doors, and Macbeth and his wife cannot wait for the 21 lines of knock knock joke to end. Everybody knows there's nothing worse than a knock knock joke that never ends or ends in banana. Whether we're telling jokes or wanting too much of a good thing, we have some funny ways of saying things. Who knew that the majority of these wacky phrases that we say originated from Shakespeare? Well, that does it for this week's edition of The List. I'm Jamie Stalford. Join us again next week.
That was a great list. Who knew Shakespeare was responsible for Knock Knock, Who's There?
I don't know. Who's there?
Wooden shoe.
Wooden shoe who?
Wouldn't you like to hear another joke?
Ha, that was a good one.
Moving on now, as we head into break, here's our feature on an important philosopher. This week we look at Jean-Jacques Rousseau.
This segment was written, produced, and edited by Laney High School senior Heather Jensen.
Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Thomas Hobbes was an English philosopher in the 17th century who was famous for his critical and political views on society. Hobbes gained knowledge in many fields like mathematics, translation, and law. He was also well known for his writings and disputes on religious subjects. Hobbes was also a respected theorist in ethics and politics. In 1642, Hobbes published De Cive, his first book on political philosophy, but his most famous book was Leviathan. This book especially articulated political philosophy. Hobbes said that the government was used primarily as a device for ensuring collective security. The state is created by humans, so he first describes human nature. He says that in each one of us can be found a representation of general humanity, and that all aspects are ultimately self-serving. In a state of nature, humans would behave completely selfishly. He also said that humanity's natural condition is a state of perpetual war, fear, and immorality, and that only government can hold a society together. Thomas Hobbes believed in absolutism. He thought an effective government must have absolute authority. The government's powers must be neither divided nor limited. He thought a monarchy is the best form of government. Hobbes also believed that all phenomena in the universe can be explained in terms of motions and interactions of material bodies. He did not believe in the soul. He maintained that the constant back and forth mediation between the emotion of fear and the emotion of hope is the defining principle of all human actions. Either fear or hope is present at all times in all people. Thomas Hobbes was a classically trained questioner, a theorist who had doubt that in turn sprouted discoveries. He was a contributor to society in this way.
What state am I?
I receive an average of 4 inches of rain and snow annually. The U.S. government owns 85% of my land for military purposes. Tourism is the prime source of income for my state. Do you know who I am? If you've guessed Nevada, you're right. I received statehood in 1864.
This United States factoid has been brought to you by New Hanover County Schools on the Learning Network of the Cape Fear.
Welcome back to the morning show. I'm Shannon Maines and my co-host is Ryan Spurney. It's time for NC Happenings. Everyone should get out their pen and paper as we take a trip across the state and look at all the events taking place in the coming month.
Whether you're looking for adventure or relaxation, mountains or beaches, the rhythm of city life or the tranquility of nature, there is something happening for everyone here in North Carolina.
Date, June 5th. Place, downtown Waynesville. Event, Art After Dark. The event is happening from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Downtown Waynesville galleries remain open for Art After Dark featuring demonstration, artist reception, and special music. Admission is free, so come and visit. For any questions, go to www.waynesvillegalleryassociation.com or call 828-456-3517.
Date, June 13th. Place, Curie Beach. Event, Artillery at Fort Fisher. Does Dad dig cannons, forts, and history? Fort Fisher offers Civil War artillery demonstrations today as part of its second Saturday summer program. Enjoy the museum, guided trail tours, and demonstrations. Admission is free also. For any questions, call 910-458-5538 or email fisher@ncdcr.gov.
Date, June 13th. Place, Asheboro. Event, African Giants at the North Carolina Zoo from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Celebrate our African giants including elephants, rhinos, and giraffes. Learn about these enormous creatures, features, and how they help them to survive. Admission is free with zoo admission. For any questions, go to www.nczoo.org.
Date June 20th. Place Randleman. Event 2nd Annual NC Food Truck State Championship. From 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., food trucks from across North Carolina will converge on Randleman's Commerce Square for 2 days of juried competition in gourmet food of all types. Live music will be featured during the competition. Admission is free. For more info, email chamber43@northstate.net.
Date June 27th. Place Goldsboro. Event North Carolina State Championships of Cornhole. Statewide competition for the NC Championship in singles and doubles categories. Winners advance to the final round at the ACO World Championship of Cornhole 9 in Charleston, West Virginia. Participation fees are free for ACU members. Non-members have a $20 entry fee. For more information, visit www.americancornhole.com.
If these events weren't enough for you or you were looking for something different to do, then check out the website www.visitnc.com. Under the Upcoming Events tab, you'll be able to sort and search for something that suits your need.
It's time now for more Your School News on the Morning Show. Let's send it back over to our news anchor, Airly Ward.
Thank you, Shannon and Ryan, and welcome everyone to Your School News here on the Morning Show. Laney High School hosted its 6th annual Slam Jam in the school's breezeway. This year's Slam Jam, entitled A Celebration of Life event, was focused on teen suicide prevention. We have a report from Bobby Blue.
Laney's 2015 Slam Jam theme, Love Your Life, was in full force at this year's event. Basketball, beach balls, photo booths, and more were all part of this year's exciting Fun Expo. The Slam Jam didn't stop there. Included at this year's event were booths that featured educational activities along with information. There were also countless displays that reminded students that life is worth living, that friends are everywhere, and wounds heal quickly.
We felt that when we came up with the topics that we were going to do a lot of things that pertain to this moment in time in the student body as opposed to just like the community as a whole. This year we've had 2 deaths by suicide in our population, and one before we came up with the idea and then one after. And we decided that it was best that we needed to attack the subject that not really gets touched on. It's kind of like a touchy subject. So we decided to tackle that one as our one of our topics, and then it won in a vote that we sent to our panel. So we felt that this one would mean the most to our students after what has happened this year.
Slam Jam is a student-led faculty-student basketball event that is planned and implemented by Laney's Sports Entertainment Marketing 2 class that brings awareness through service learning to current issues within the community.
They do all the planning, implementation, form community partnerships, all the cross-curricular connections. They basically build that bridge to the outside community. As you can see, we have a lot of different organizations coming in to give information, spread awareness, and try to get that information into people's hands.
The incidents at Laney this year really focused the students on the subject of youth suicide. Through information and guest speakers, the Sports Entertainment Marketing class helped to spread the message at Bucktown that suicide is preventable. Through the Slam Jam Expo, local organizations help remind students that they are in key positions to pick up on suicidal signs and to get help for their classmates and friends.
We have tons of booths here that have help if you're feeling this, and even the aftermath of that, kind of the help, like if you're a suicide survivor, there's so many different ways that, we just really want to make people feel like they love their life, not they're down on their life.
Laney Slam Jam was not only an amazing event, it was also an educational outreach. It helped to lift spirits and remind everyone that life really is good. It helped to focus teachers and students in the school community to make suicide prevention a priority and help to empower them to take the correct actions to help those in distress before they engage in behavior with irreversible consequences. Reporting for Your School News, This is Bobby Blue.
It's time to start thinking about high school graduations, and the school system has released the 2015 schedules. The traditional high school graduations will be held on Saturday, June 13th at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington in Trask Coliseum. The schedule for the day is as follows. New Hanover High School's ceremony will be at 9 a.m., followed by Laney at 12:30 p.m. Ashley's ceremony will be at 4 p.m., with Hoggard High School closing out the day with their commencement at 7:30 p.m. Now, the early college high schools and Mosley Performance Learning Center graduations are scheduled as follows. Isaac Bear's ceremony will be on Saturday, May 30th at 10 a.m. in Keenan Auditorium on the UNCW campus. Wilmington Early College High School will also hold its commencement on Saturday, May 30th at 1 p.m. in the Minnie Evans Performing Arts Center. Mosley Performance Learning Center will hold its graduation ceremony on Friday, June 12th at 7 p.m. in the Snipes Auditorium on Chestnut Street. Most of these graduations will also be telecast on the Learning Network on June 13th. That's all for now. To watch this week's edition of Your School News online, visit the school system's website at www.nhcs.net and click on the NHCS TV logo on the home page. Now back over to Shannon and Ryan.
Thanks, Airly. We close our show with a new and fascinating game, Shakespeare game.
This game will test our knowledge of characters in his plays.
Let's send it back over to Airly, who will explain the game.
To be or not to be, which play stars me? That is the name of our game, and it says it all. I will give you the name of a character from one of 7 Shakespeare plays. You have the list in front of you. They are Twelfth Night, Much Ado About Nothing, Hamlet, The Tempest, Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, and Comedy of Errors. All you have to do is tell which of those plays the character is from. If you know it, tell me the answer for 2 points. Or for 1 point, I can give you a little hint. In addition, if you get it wrong, your competitor can steal for 1 point. We will rotate back and forth, starting with Shannon. Okay, contestants, are you ready? I will start with you, Shannon. Here we go.
Okay.
Curio.
Curio? Whew. That's like all of these. Just kidding. Can I have a hint?
Gentleman attending on the Duke.
Is it from Macbeth?
No.
Dang.
Would you like to steal?
I'm going to go with Twelfth Night.
That's correct. Okay. Balthazar.
Balthazar. Can I have a hint?
Attendant on Don Pedro.
I'm going to go with Much Ado About Nothing.
That is correct.
All right.
Okay, Shannon.
Okay.
Claudius.
Claudius. Oh, Hamlet.
That is correct.
Okay.
Alonzo.
Alonzo. Can I have a hint?
King of Naples.
I'm going to go with Comedy of Errors.
That is not correct. Shannon?
Darn.
Is it Much Ado About Nothing?
It is not.
Okay.
It was The Tempest.
Dang.
Tough one.
Okay. Montague.
Montague. Romeo and Juliet.
That is correct.
Meow.
Seward. Or Seward.
That's Macbeth.
That is correct.
I would have guessed The Tempest.
Luciana. Or Luciana.
Luciana. Is that The Tempest?
No.
Dang.
I'm going to guess Comedy of Errors.
That is correct.
All right.
Man, has anyone even read that play?
I don't think so.
Beatrice.
Is that me? Can I have a hint?
Niece to Leonardo.
I'm going to go with The Tempest.
That is not correct.
Is that much to do about nothing?
That is correct. Well, it's much ado about nothing.
Much
but
ado.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Give that to you.
Much to do.
Okay. Viola.
Is that mine?
Yeah, it's yours.
Yes.
Okay, viola. Is that comedy of errors?
No.
Dang.
I'm gonna guess Much Ado About Nothing.
That is not correct. It was Twelfth Night.
Okay.
Prospero.
Prospero is The Tempest.
Yes. Well. Balthazar. Again.
Did we just do this one? Oh, and I forgot. Oh.
He's in 2 plays.
He's in 2 plays?
He's 2 different people, but...
Oh.
Do you have to get the other one this time, or?
I guess.
Oh,
okay.
Man. Is he in Comedy of Errors?
He is not.
Dang.
I'm gonna guess Much Ado About Nothing.
Well, that's...
Was that what he's in?
That was the first one.
Okay, can I guess again?
I don't know. Sure.
12th Night.
No. It was Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
Okay. Gertrude.
Gertrude. Can I have a hint?
Queen of Denmark.
Oh my goodness.
The Tempest.
No.
No.
Hamlet.
Yes. Whew. Okay. Banquo.
Banquo. Is that from Macbeth?
Yes.
Woo! Okay.
Okay. Dromio of Syracuse.
Can I have a hint?
Attendant on the 2 Antipholuses.
Comedy of Errors.
That is correct.
All right. This is it.
This is
Sort of.
kind of,
Maybe.
if we can get it. With
Ophelia.
Oh, okay. Hamlet.
That is correct.
Woo!
Finally.
Man. Okay.
Is that it? Okay. All right. And our game winner and Shakespearean star is Shannon. Congratulations.
That was fun. Good game.
Yes, I enjoyed it. Good game.
Well, that does it for this edition of The Morning Show. Remember, for the best TV of all, each and every day, keep it tuned right here for New Hanover County Schools TV on the Learning Network of the Cape Fear.
Have a great day.
And a wonderful week.